Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julie LIMABOYLE, and I am a Fuse Fellow Cohort 5, and I would like to speak to you briefly today about my Fuse project. So I work at Coventry High School. I've been teaching English there for 20 years and the curriculum coordinator for the English department for 12. And in my service on the leadership team, in my work in the classroom, in working with students in venues, it's been obvious to me for a long time that our grading and revision policies are quite inconsistent at Coventry High School. And so there is a clear issue in terms of equity in students accessing courses and receiving grades in different ways. And so with a union contract that prohibits specifically telling teachers how to grade at this point in time in terms of weight, praise, and all sorts of variables, I have been driven and felt moved to try to create some type of reflection around the topic of grading revision. And so the project really was in the spirit of fostering equity and fairness for students. And so here is what I did. The procedure was basically, once the problem was identified and shared by several others, was to get the right support. So having an administrator as a co-chair of any type of school improvement work is always good in my experience, since they can serve as a liaison not only to the administrative team, but also to our central office administration, and to obviously their work with many more teachers in the building than I might see across disciplines. So I did work with one Mr. Chase. And then we sought out teachers. We encouraged all teachers through a faculty meeting to join our work, and set up a Google Classroom for that work and all kinds of things. But any departments that were underrepresented, we went and kind of recruited. And we ended up assembling quite a large team of about 20 teachers from cross departments to work on this project. The key throughout the project was transparency with the staff, and also needing their feedback and input in terms of creating guidelines for grading and revision. So we surveyed them several times and reported out at faculty meetings, and we also did the same with students and reported out to students as best we could through advisory and things like that. And through the course of this project, there were at least 10 team meetings. This was actually a 1.5-year project that started in the 2018-19 school year. And we tended to meet after school from like 2 to 3:30 once a month to discuss any data that we had collected, or to draft policies or guidelines, rather, to talk about grading, to bring in guest speakers, all sorts of things, to read articles. It was really a labor of love in terms of facilitating some thought around the topic. We ended up posting through the course of the project 3 different full faculty meeting style, like hour and a half professional development sessions, creating playlists for teachers to go through, but essentially to roll out the guidelines, get feedback, make some revisions, reflect on the guidelines, and then keep constantly honing and evolving throughout the process. So here are a few photographs of some of the teams cross department. You might recognize some friends if you have teacher friends in Coventry, but here in these few photos taken from different meetings of our work, you can see that the work was really facilitated and it was collaborative, and we really did work to draw out common themes around grading and revision. So the mission, we ultimately were working to consider the strengths and weaknesses of our CHS grading policy, which was very limited. The only thing that it did say was that homework couldn't count for more than 20%. But other than that, there was no real guidance for teachers as far as grades, and no real guidance for students or parents either. So we wanted to look at those practices in terms of alignment to our school mission statement and also our vision of the graduate, and see how those things were working. And we wanted to generate and reflect on guidance for teachers regarding common CHS grading and revision practices. So although these are guidelines and not policy that we are generating or have generated at this point, it is guidelines for teachers who will have some resources so that we can be more consistent from teacher to teacher, even within departments. And ultimately, the mission was to create more equitable, consistent access to fair grading policy for CHS students. The final result, hallelujah, before we moved to distance learning, was that we did publish some guidelines for grading practices for teachers. And we phrased it or kind of set it up as a student grading bill of rights. And so it's students deserve to. And then we had a series of statements regarding grading and revision practices that we ultimately calibrated in sessions and got the departments together to talk about them so that we could publish them and plan for implementation. And so I'm really pleased overall with the process of this work. There's still more to be done where we want to talk about a little bit more specific revision practices at CHS, and we still have some more researching and talking to do, but the project will continue, I'm glad to say, and it has really generated some deep thought and critical analysis of practices at CHS. So in that way, it's a win. It's a win for CHS students. It's a win for the teachers. And I'm just glad to be a part of such a great collaborative team at Coventry High School. And Fuse RI, thank you also for inspiring me to want to tackle such an important project. It's something that's been in my heart to do for a while. And sometimes just having that extra encouragement and push can really help create beautiful things and light that spark of Fuse. Thank you.